Good morning. I had to restart this video, but anyway, um, I was talking to I'm talking about my grandmother's funeral down in Opelika, Georgia. My dad had to go down there a few years ago because she had passed away. Suddenly, she just dropped dead. And she was in her 90s, but my dad went down there, and him and my auntie Agnes went down there, and they cleared her house out before the homegoing. And my dad told his nephew to go down there and clear the house out and get everything out, the beds, the furniture, all the toiletries, toilet paper. And my grandmother had stuff stockpiled, so everybody was, pretty much getting what they wanted, out of the house. So my other two aunts were coming off of a cruise because they were on a family cruise, and his aunt Scooty and the other Jackie, they came back and they were mad because they wanted certain things out of the house. And my dad just told his nephew to get everything out because my dad was coming back to Ohio. So my aunt Scooty called the deputy sheriff on her nephew and said that he stole all the stuff out of the house. So the deputy sheriff went and picked him up, and they came to my dad and said, did he steal this stuff? He said, no, I told him to take the stuff out of the house. So they had to let my cousin, which is my dad's nephew, they had to let him go. And my dad went off on his sister. He said, you always want to keep up confusion. He said, I told him to do that. And the deputy sheriff said, oh, this is a family thing. He said, I'm the elder of this family. He said, so what I say, go. And and he looked at his sister to say, I don't know why she up here. He said, I'm the oldest. So the deputy sheriff said, I'm done. It's a wrap. He said, well, he didn't told him what to do. So they left. So my dad was egging at her saying, you always trying to run stuff. He said, you fuck up everything that you touch. And she didn't say nothing to my dad the whole time they was there. She avoided my dad because she know my dad is a maniac. So they went to the funeral, and my cousins, which is my dad's nieces and nephews, Jackie's, they all went in, and he said that she had on this short skirt, and she's a heavy set girl, and her boobs was out. And then he had on a pinstripe, a black and white suit. So when they walked in, the pastor said, looked and said, woo. He said, y'all look like y'all came fresh out of a whorehouse. He said, she the pimp and she the whore and he the pimp. So everybody was in the church was like, oh. My dad said he was so embarrassed. And he said that's exactly what the preacher said. He said that's exactly what they look like. So they had the home going. My dad went over to his sister Jackie's house. She had like a $2 million home in Huntsville. So they went over, the eat and stuff. So my sister brought the grandkids over. So my dad was tending to them, making sure that if they ate and, playing with them. And then he was playing with his other nieces and nephews, and they took pictures. So they emailed them to me. And my dad was like, well, I'm ready to go home. So he caught a ride back to Ohio with my baby sister. So on the way back to Ohio, Scooty was calling my twin sister, and she keep up a bunch of bullshit too, saying, she was talking shit about my dad. But my dad didn't care. He said, as long as she didn't say the shit to my face, he said, I give two fucks. And that's how my dad roll. I'm my father's child because I'm the same way. But anyway, they came on back to Ohio. She dropped him off in Columbus, and she came on back to Cleveland. So this is another funny story talking about my cousin that went to a funeral at Second Baptist Church. This was, I think, a year and a half ago. So I told her, I said, Darlene, was dressed she had on a leather skirt, and she looked like a biker babe and had on, these fish print. And I said, Darlene, that is not appropriate for a funeral. I said, it's not. But anyway, so I said, you make sure you take your Willa later. So she walked in there. She walked in the church, and she being greeted by everybody. And she took the Nestea plunge. She fell. And I said, I told you not to go in there without your Willa later. She was like, I was just trying to, I said, you can't walk without it. I said, not no far distances. I said, that's what you get because you hard-headed. So she gets home and she embarrassed and she didn't want to tell me. But see, people had already called me and told me that was at the funeral. I was just waiting to see if she was going to tell me. Because I don't go to funerals. I only went to my mother's and Wooey's, and that's because they were close family members. Other than that, I don't sit up in nobody's funeral because it's too much drama, and I don't like being around that foolishness because I'll snap. Well, anyway, I said, Darlene, and then me and her got into it. I said, you always think that you could just do stuff, and when I tell you to do stuff, so she was in the bed for a couple of days because she was hurting. I said, that's what you get. I said, because you hard-headed. I said, you had on the wrong attire going to a home going anyway of a lady of that status. I said, you had on the wrong clothes and then you sitting there thinking you cute. I said, and what if your wig would have flew off? You really would have been embarrassed. But this is the end of this blog. I love you guys and thank everybody that supports my videos. I do this for y'all to keep y'all laughing during this pandemic. And write down in the comments and let me know that y'all viewed this blog. Y'all have a happy weekend. Bye.